Hello there. This is probably the beginning of a new thing for me when I simply just talk about the Gospels that's read out in church each week. This week was the Lady at the Well. This kind of thing is not a new thing for me because I used to go to a church called Our Lady of Victories in Kensington, where they kind of more or less regularly had this thing called faith sharing, where they read out the gospel and any ideas that kind of struck us. Is like a group of about, well, it varied quite drastically, 20, sometimes 12, sometimes less people than that, sometimes more. But you just kind of read out the gospel a few times and then just commented on it. For a while, I didn't miss that at all. For a while, I thought I'd said everything that there was for me to say. I felt like I've covered pretty much all of my personal life and covered all the ideas that I could muster. But so for a while, I didn't miss it. But then after about a year or so later, I don't know, I kind of wanted a different avenue to explore it, and so here I am. The picture I did this afternoon, and it's pretty much how I imagine the scene. It's just Jesus with the Samaritan woman having the dialogue at the well. One of the things I really like about this one is that it's almost like Jesus having a break and being on downtime because he's resting. He needs to be rejuvenated from his long trip, and he's just thirsty. But even in that, even in his off time, even in his even in his downtime, he cannot help it but convert this woman just by his mere presence, and not even I'm not actually thinking about it. He's not even planning it. He's not even trying to win her over all his energy. He's beat and sunburnt probably, and just thirsty, wants to drink. And even in that, it's kind of his force is so overwhelming that it can completely change the life of the person he meets, even in his kind of off moment. Now, initially, this woman's a bit prickly. She kind of acknowledges the fact that she thinks that he sees her as lower status because of the fact that she's a Samaritan, and she kind of questions the fact that he can't get living water because he doesn't have a bucket. But then she does something very brave, I think, when Jesus said, "Go to your husband." She says, "I have no husband." She volunteers that bit of truth about herself, and Jesus doesn't say, "Actually, you haven't got a husband," and so on and so forth. He gives the opportunity to be lied to, but she doesn't take it. She just completely says the truth about her situation. And there are a lot of husbands. There's 5 husbands, so you get the sense that this could be, quite an attractive woman. But she's been treated badly, and that's, you kind of get, there's an idea from literature with the Hunchback of Notre Dame, where a very holy figure is in love with Esmeralda, and he shouldn't be, and it's kind of this weird mix that some men have, is having that religious zeal where they see the temptation as being evil as opposed to having it being generated from themselves. So once they dispose of the temptation, they go back to being holy again. So in their mind, they're allowed to hate this woman in that weird sense. With the disciples, 2 things. They don't seem to question Jesus about why he's with a woman, but they kind of must be thinking, well, this is a scandal waiting to happen. They don't quite get it. And there's another thing at the meal as well, where they're asking Jesus, won't you have something to eat? But he says, you don't have food that you don't know about. And they're thinking that there's somebody else that's actually supplying him for somewhere, getting food for him, which they don't know about. So you get a sense that the disciples they feel like they don't know everything about him, and they're kind of frightened to ask. They kind of trying to get a handle on him, and I get the sense that they kind of do misunderstand him a little. Well, the whole point of the whole story is that the woman sees these 5 husbands as almost like a replacement for her search for God. She needs love, and she's trying to find it in men, and not only she's not being very successful, but she tries to fix the problem by exacerbating it. So she keeps trying different men. So it's like she's ended up with like 5 different people to that's part of her life. Um, and it's kind of like the idea that's in, I think it's The Dark Nights of the Soul by Thomas More. It's not Thomas More of old. It's a different Thomas More. It's a new author. There's a more contemporary author, I think, where this when you kind of like seek out God in your love life, it, that kind of driving force is something else. When you kind of like see this other person as you falling in love with, which you shouldn't, there's something inside your soul that is unsettled, that needs to be kind of dealt with in a different way than what you think your immediate need is. Um, I sympathise with the woman completely here because I've done that myself. I've kind of tried to find replacement for God and companionship. Not been very successful, but I kind of know that feeling. And well, that pretty much that wraps it up, I guess. I mean, that's my 2 cents on the Gospel of the Week, and I might do this again if the weather's nice and horrible. Don't feel like going outside. I might do this another time and maybe make it a weekly thing. I don't know, but we shall see. We shall see.